There's no question that wedding planning can be stressful and time consuming, but with the right time management, it can become way less taxing. Today, we've got special guest and entrepreneur Candice Coppola here to chat with us a little bit about time management. Candice Coppola is an author, podcast host, and entrepreneur who grew a wedding planning and design business from her spare bedroom of her home into a multi-country, multi-six-figure company. Now she helps mentor and coach other wedding pros, including successful time management. Candice, thank you so much for joining today. We're really excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before we kind of dive in, we want to know a little more about your backstory and how you got started and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I started my business back in ancient times of 2008, 2007.
That's a good time to start a business, right?
Well, it was a weird time to start a business for sure. But it feels like ancient times. I feel like an OG these days. But I started my business long ago, back in 2007, 2008. And I got into the wedding industry just because I had a real love affair with weddings. I thought it would be really fun to be a wedding planner, to be honest with you guys. So if you're listening to this now and you think it is fun to be a wedding planner, maybe after this interview, you might reconsider. No,
it's all mimosas and parties, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Clipboards and Louboutins.
That's right.
It's not. Yeah. But it actually was a really wonderful career. And so I got into the industry with no experience. I literally didn't finish college, had no idea how to run a business, never planned a wedding in my life. I think I was a flower girl once in a wedding at that stage. So I really
had lots of experience.
Yeah, tons of experience. But it was something that I was really passionate about. And at that age, I said to myself, you have an opportunity to do something. You know, you don't have to follow the script that's been outlined for you. If you want to start a business, the worst thing you can do is try. And if you fail, then you'll figure something else out. But now is your time. You don't have kids. You're not married. So you might as well just go for it, see what happens. I had the support of my family. I spent a good chunk of time, about a year, figuring out what kind of business I wanted, writing a plan, doing all of the background stuff. And I launched my company. And within 2 years, we were growing a team. We were number one. We were doing the thing. And I learned a lot along the way. I wrote 2 books. I started coaching. Yeah, I started coaching wedding pros about 8 years ago. So about midway through my journey of being a wedding planner. And then last year, October of 2019, I sold my business to a longtime team member. I didn't have as much love for it as I used to. And I decided that this is something I want to do, was to help others have the same levels of success that I was so fortunate to have. So that's just a little snapshot of my story.
I love it. I mean, that sums it up right there, is when you say, I have nothing else to lose. Let's go for it. And I'm not afraid to fail. Like, that is the first tell that you have like an entrepreneur that's like ready to go.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Most people are scared to fail, right? But I think there's like a certain age when you're 26, I don't think you see too far ahead in the future, and failure doesn't feel so great. But I'm 38 now. And so the thought of failing can be crushing. So it's easy to do, I think, when you're a little bit younger, a lot harder to do as you go on and get older and have more responsibilities.
That's true. That's true. So when you were working as a wedding planner, obviously you had a ton of different clients and team members and things like that. How did you manage your time with all those different responsibilities?
That's a great question. I think time management is something that is elusive to so many people, no matter if you're planning your wedding right now, or if you are in the business of planning weddings, or any business really. Time management is just such a hard thing to master. Fortunately for me, I'm a really organized person, and my relationship with time is, I believe that I need more time to get something done than I really need. So the way that I would structure out my business and working with my customers was just to give myself as much time as I needed to get things done. And I would always be surprised at how little time I actually needed in order to finish a project, or to answer an email, or to jump on a call. And so I always buffer everything in my life with an exorbitant amount of time. And I think that's to my benefit, but also to my detriment.
Yeah. Well, what about when you're on the other side? I'm sorry, Ryan, am I looking at you? What about when you're on the other side and you think what's the proper way to say this?
You think you can do everything. You can
in a limited amount of time.
And you don't, and you're not good at projecting like, oh yeah, I can definitely knock that out in 30 minutes.
He says,
an hour and a half later.
I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second.
Is this Ryan? This must be Ryan. Now we must be diving into Ryan. Okay. So my husband, yeah, my husband's the same way. He's a West Indian, and he just believes that, 5 minutes, he could do a whole bunch of things in 5 minutes.
Sure, you can.
And you can't. It's interesting being the spouse of somebody whose relationship with time is different than yours. I think he benefits from me understanding how long something really does take, and he's getting better and better. I think you just set yourself up for failure because you're never able to do things in the time slots that you think they can be done. And so it's really about evaluating your relationship with time and understanding what you can accomplish in a period of time and what you can't.
Yeah.
I think that's great too.
I've definitely learned the consequences of that. We have a 2-year-old, and 2-year-olds, they do manage, they live by the clock. So if your time's not right, you're going to feel it.
You're off.
Anyways, I'm taking us off track here.
Okay. So on wedding day, obviously this is a pretty common thing. Like, I think for our couples who are listening, oftentimes things are running a little bit behind. From that planner's background, I feel like it is very common to have buffer time, which is always funny when you're talking to clients. They're like, it won't take that long. You're like, let's just be safe.
Just like it won't cost that much.
Exactly.
Let's put a buffer in the budget too.
Exactly. But how did you manage and make up for that kind of lost time on wedding day when things are running behind?
That's a great question. Again, I think it goes back to my natural inclination that we need more time to do things, because when we look at a project or even on wedding day, the amount of time it takes for the bride to get dressed, you can say, well, it'll take her 10 minutes to put her dress on, no more than that. But when you really look at the act of getting dressed and all the things that come along with it, it actually takes about an hour for her to get dressed. It's not just the act of putting the dress on, it's what happens after she puts it on. Where's my shoes? Can you go get this? Can you fix my hair? And then it's the reveal, and there's all these things that happen around that one moment that have to be factored in to time. So one of the things that my company always did was we buffered in a ton of time on wedding day, even for minuscule things. And customers would push back and say, I don't think we need to have an extra 30 minutes buffered in for transportation. We're only going 2 miles from the church to the reception. And, just based on our experience, loading buses, it's like herding cats, trying to get people in, trying to get people to go where they need to go. And then of course, traffic and construction and potholes and this, that, and the other thing. You'd be surprised what a 5-minute drive really takes when you're trying to move 150 people 2 miles. It really does take 30 to 40 minutes to get them there. So for wedding day, you have this really finite or this small amount of time, depending on how long your day is. And it goes by in the blink of an eye. It really, you start the day off and before you know it, it's last dance and that's it. We've had so many customers just look at us and say, that's it? It's over? It's all gone after a whole year? Those 5 hours are up? It's really crazy how quick it goes.
It really is.
Yeah. So my encouragement to you is to buffer in time and to schedule out a nice long day for yourself. Start hair and makeup early, get ready early, have breakfast with your peeps. For grooms, have lunch together, grab some beers, go get a shave. Enjoy the time in the morning, buffer time in for pictures, do a first look. Have time together before the ceremony, and try to buffer in extra time around specific moments that are really important to you, which gives you the time to enjoy those moments for what they are. You won't feel rushed from your seat to the cake to some photos to dancing. It'll feel more natural, and you'll be able to take time to savor every single moment on your wedding day.
I think it always happens. There's always a groomsman who's like missing their shoes, and it's why aren't your shoes on? Like, how did this happen? We're outside.
How did you leave the hotel without your shoes?
They're always.
It's true though. It's funny. It is really funny, the dynamics between friends, and there's always one person who's just way off, like who's way off center. And Kadir, there's sweet, you have to embrace them, right? They've got these funny quirks, but you're right. And there's always a groomsman who forgets his socks, who doesn't have his shoes on.
No socks, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who's like, do I have to put on this jacket right now? It's like, well, you're actually walking down the aisle. So yes.
Oh my gosh.
So
I know it is. I have this couple that I was like, all right, groomsmen, don't move. They're in the middle of a park. I'm like, surely they can't go anywhere. Don't move. I'm going to be right back. And I come back and I'm like, well, where's the groomsman? One groomsman says, oh, he went to the bar. What bar? We're in a park. How is this possible?
Oh my gosh. I have so many stories like that over the years. And in fact, like one of my signatures was I would give people before the ceremony, I'd give them a 30-minute notice. And I'd be like, and I'm like your mother, if you need to use the bathroom,
yes,
now is the time to do it. I've lost many a bridesmaid who were about to walk down the aisle. They walk in the church with their curling iron, their, face powder. They're trying to run into the bathroom. I'm like, sister, I love you, but it's not about you right now. Put it down, get your bouquet, get in line. We don't have time for this.
Yes.
And find his shoes somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you coach and direct your couples on balancing planning and their work life and their personal life? I would ask the question pre-COVID and then even post-COVID. I know you're not planning now, but I'm sure you have some pointers there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like now in this era, we have freed up some time, right? Because we're all at different stages. You might not be commuting to work right now. You might not be sitting at your desk for an extended period of time. So you have this free time, but we're also using that free time in unhealthy ways, consuming a lot of content and media and worrying and things like that. So in terms of balancing your time as you're planning your wedding, I think really genuinely, and I know I'm a pro and I know this is going to sound biased, but I think if you really want to balance your time well, you should look at outsourcing things outside of your genius zone when it comes to planning your wedding. Believe it or not, there are people out there who love to do what you hate. Like their whole lives, they've built a whole career around doing things that you absolutely despise, whether that's spreadsheets or phone calls, whatever it is you really dislike. There are professionals out there who love to do that, and that's really where they shine. It's their expertise. So I recommend in wedding planning, just acknowledging what you love to do and what you're excited to do, what you're pumped to do, and then delegate things out that just are outside of your genius zone that you don't want to do in wedding planning. Hire somebody to do it for you. It's going to free up your time to focus on the things that matter most to you about your wedding. And usually those are things that are focused around design and creativity, or thinking about moments and incorporating personal touches. You'll have more mental space to think about those things, really dive into those things instead of worrying about spreadsheets and guest lists and all the crazy stuff that, you might not like to do.
I love that. I mean, that's just good life advice. That's not just for wedding planning. That's just good life
sure.
advice. And you said something I've never heard before.
I know. I literally wrote that down, genius zone.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
I mean, I assume I know what it means. Can you elaborate on it for everybody?
Sure. So this is a term by Michael Hyatt, who I love. And if you're not familiar with Michael Hyatt, he's a business coach. He's an author. He was the former president of Thomas Nelson Books. And he really wants you, his phrase is, I want you to win at work and succeed at life. So, or maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. But anyway, he wrote a really great book. It's called Free to Focus, and it's about time management, and it's freeing yourself to focus on what matters most to you. I highly recommend it for anybody, whether you own a business, don't. It's really a great book. And he talks about outsourcing things outside your genius zone and really getting clear about what you're good at, what you are just good at in work, what you're good at in things that you have to take on. And the things that you're not good at, or the things that are time sucks that don't actually move any project forward, you need to outsource. And you need to outsource for your own sanity and as a business owner so that you can make more money instead of lose money by working on tasks and projects that don't actually bring you any closer to your goals. So your genius zone is just a place where you excel, where you soar, what you were meant to do in whatever project you're taking on, what you love to do. And anything outside of that, you should find some help in getting somebody else to do for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
So then just personally, like, you have so many different projects going on. You have books and a podcast and all your clients. How do you keep track? And then how do you outsource, it's so funny to me that you're talking about like time management and buffering, and how like protecting your time essentially is the key to, it sounds like, to time management, which is funny. It just, it's kind of counterintuitive in a way, but it makes perfect sense at the same time. I love that. So how do you keep track of everything? And then what do you outsource?
Sure. So I have a few software programs that I use to help me sort of manage various projects. I love Asana. I think Asana is great for any business owner. And if you're planning your wedding, there's a free version you can use if you don't have a wedding planner to sort of manage different aspects of your wedding. But I love Asana or something like Trello or Basecamp to manage certain projects. So I use Asana to manage all the projects that I have, including marketing and content, the podcast, my customers, all the things. And I also use it to collaborate with my team. So, I try to practice what I preach here, and being an Enneagram 3, I'm like an achiever. I believe I can do a lot of it myself.
But I am. We just took that the other day. Yeah. I'm a hard 3.
Are you?
And I was a hard 1.
Yeah.
Really?
She's a hard 1. Yeah. It works perfect for us.
Yeah. As an Enneagram 3, I'm the achiever. And so success is super important to me. And what I can often do is take on everything myself and believe that I'll be able to get it done. And I do get it done because I'm an achiever. So I'm committed to getting it finished. But what ends up happening is I'm spending a lot of my time on things that I could otherwise have someone else do to free up my time to dream bigger, to be a visionary, and maybe just to go get a cocktail on the beach, because I do live on an island now. So that would be nice. Yeah. So in my wedding planning business, I had a team and everybody had their roles and we were able to work cohesively together. But when I sold that business, I went out on my own and it was just me for a while. And I quickly realized that I can't edit the podcast, record the podcast, promote the podcast, do all the things for the podcast. So I started to outsource things. I hired a VA and she's helping me with all different types of tasks that I'm able to delegate to her. And then I have a podcast management team that helps me with everything from editing the show to scheduling guests to reaching out to podcasts to ask if they'd like to have me on as a guest. So I'm starting to outsource certain things in my business, and it frees up my time to focus on what matters to me.
I love that. So I think we've all seen it happen. We've all personally experienced it. Time kind of slips away from you. Maybe you allotted time for something and it wasn't enough, or you just got distracted, whatever that might be. How do you pick up and move forward in that situation and kind of get your time management back on track, whether you're planning a wedding or running your business?
Yeah, this just happened to me recently, actually, with all the things that are going on in the world and the conversations that have been happening over the last couple of weeks. I really lost track of time. I felt almost like I was stuck, like I couldn't get anything done. I was just really stuck. That's the only way to describe it. And I got really far outside of my routines. And I do well. I thrive when I follow my routines. When I wake up, when I, do my morning routine, when I do my morning workday routine, I really thrive in those elements. I'm able to get more accomplished. I feel good about the work that I'm doing. So when my routines are thrown off, my time management is thrown off. And it can be really hard to get back in your routine. So I think the first thing that you have to do if you're feeling like time's getting away from you, or the next time it does, is just acknowledge like, hey, some time's gone by. Maybe I haven't been able to excel in what I set out to do. Or maybe I let a few things fall to the wayside, or I made some mistakes, or I just dropped the ball. But you still have time in the present to start getting back on the horse, getting back on your routines. And this is really anything in life, right? I mean, it extends to literally anything, but you still have time to get back on track and focus on what matters and, start to steer the ship back in the right direction. You can make it up for lost time. But if you're outside of your routines, I think it starts there, getting back into healthy routines for yourself in your every single day. And daily routines, I do think are important just for a good headspace in starting the day and, starting the day with positivity, feeling like you've actually accomplished something. That's why they say make your bed in the morning, right? It's like the first thing you accomplish, and you start your day off with like checking something off your list, which can be powerful. So try to dial back into your routines. And if you don't have daily routines or rituals, consider some really healthy daily routines or rituals that could help you frame your mind up, start your day and end your day in a healthy place.
I
Yeah.
love that. For couples who are listening, how do they, when they get engaged, they have,
Mhm.
a lot of times they feel like they have to do all these things, and they already are in a routine with their day and work and personal life. So how do you kind of adjust your routine to account for that change that happens,
Yeah.
that big life
Yeah.
change all of a sudden?
Yeah. Well, planning a wedding can really take so much. I mean, it takes so much time and it takes so much brain energy. What you realize after the wedding is planned that you have all this time, all this free space in your head. You just didn't realize what life was like before
Right.
because you've been all consumed by planning. So I think it's important for couples to be very specific about the time that they have to dedicate to their wedding, especially if they have busy careers or busy seasons in their life. That's why hiring a pro to pick up the slack can really help you to be free to focus on the things that excite you. But consider scheduling maybe certain days of the week or even month, depending on where you are in the process, to talk about the wedding, to work on the wedding together. What I've found over the years is that, typically one half of the couple is doing more work and they get resentful about it. And they're like, where are you? Why aren't you helping me? So approaching it from a team standpoint, being very clear about the days of the month that you'll dedicate to going to site visits or meeting with vendors, or even sitting down and writing out that guest list or talking with family or doing finances, can make sure that both of you guys are on the same page as to when you're going to dedicate time to what.
Yeah, that's great. I know for me, when we finish a big project, right, some big new product to push, something like that, that takes me out of what I normally do every single day, and then coming back and try to establish that routine, that's where, for me, I'll lose time. So I think I love that. It's, be self-aware. It's okay. Just
Mhm.
make sure you get yourself back on track. Don't go into denial, but also don't beat yourself up too much too. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, you're only human. We're going to have,
Yep.
I think we all, no matter what our personality type is, maybe even no matter where we are in the world, we all have months where we're killing it. And then we have months where we're not killing it. And so it's when you're not killing it that you feel really bad and you can get really down on yourself and very critical. You can just acknowledge, like, hey, I'm not at my best right now. I'm stressed about work. I'm stressed about COVID. I'm stressed about the state of the world. I'm stressed about my mom is driving me crazy. Whatever it is, it's just stressful. You can acknowledge that maybe now's not the time for you to focus on planning your wedding. Maybe take a little pause, take a little break, hit the reset button, and come back to it when you feel refreshed. But I think the first step is just being like, okay, so I'm not at my best right now. That's okay. Maybe I just need a little bit of a break.
Yeah, that's great. So it obviously it does get to be a lot. So do you get to schedule any vacation or downtime? And what is your favorite way to unwind? Obviously you're on an island, so I could ballpark it, but
Listen, last night oh my gosh, yesterday I was content planning and it just sucked the life out of me because it's been many weeks since I really sat down and thought about what I need to do. And it felt so overwhelming because there were so many things that were not done. And so I was really getting down on myself and I sat on the couch and I was like, Jason, I need a vacation. Like, I just need to check out. I would take anything right now. Like, you could put me in a tent and you could put me anywhere. Just take me out of this house and put me in a new space. I need a vacation. And he's in the office next to me. So hopefully he's not taking that seriously because I really do want to stay at the Four Seasons, not in a tent. But I need a vacation. I need a vacation. And so we are really good, I think, at taking time for ourselves. I usually don't work on Fridays. I usually take that time for myself or to learn something new or just to fill up my cup in some way. And there are certain times of the year where I don't work. I don't work for most of July and a part of August. And then I also don't work around the holidays. I don't work starting November and I go right through until the new year because I love Thanksgiving, I love Christmas, and I love to have the space to enjoy that. So I really dial things down during those points of the year. But I really do believe in taking vacations, and they don't have to be anything fancy. I'm joking about the Four Seasons, but I do sort of. But I do think that we need to find time to connect with the people we care about, our friends, our spouses, our partners, and then also just disconnect from our work. But when we come back to whatever it is that we do, we're more refreshed. We have a better sense of what we need to do next. And we're just more grateful for the work that we get to do because it affords us that time to spend with our families and just spend with ourselves. So Jason and I Because we live on an island, it can sometimes feel like a perpetual vacation
Yeah.
if we're going out a lot with friends. But we love to rent a house here on the beach and just relax and turn off the TV and read. And he's a surfer, so he loves to go surfing every day, cook food, have friends over, make cocktails, have conversation, sit in a hammock and just breeze out. I mean, that's what we like to do.
I love it.
That's great.
Yeah. Count me in.
That sounds, yeah.
Sign
I'm
me
there.
up.
It's that time. I literally said to Ryan the other day, I was like, it's vacation time. We need to book something.
I think everybody's feling like that.
Yeah.
Mental health wise, we all need a little break, I think.
I think so too. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we close out, let our listeners know, I'm stealing your question.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're doing such a good job.
Okay. top 3 tips for time management.
Sure. So I've got 3 good ones for you, and we've kind of covered a few of these already. So the first is to get clear about your relationship with time. So just do a little deep dive. We all have relationships with things, and we all have beliefs around things like time, like money. I could go on and on. But I think the first step in having some better time management in your life is just to get clear about what your beliefs are with time and what your relationship is with time. Once you can identify that, you can start to look at how you can make some changes so that you can use time better. Next, I want you to outsource anything that is, outside of your genius zone. So hire pros to come in and help you plan your wedding. If you're a pro listening, start outsourcing some of that work that's important, but it does not require you to do, because there are people out there who love to do what you hate. They've built entire businesses around that notion. And then finally, say no. And it can be so hard to say no to people, especially as a people pleaser. You feel like you always have to say yes because you want to be liked or you want to be helpful. And somebody who has a good relationship with time and good time management understands that saying no is part of that. And when you say no to something, you actually give the other person a gift, because if you're not able to show up in your fullest breath or your fullest self to something, and you say no to that person, that allows them to go find the right person who can do that job or who can volunteer for that position or whatever it is. So saying no is giving somebody the gift of finding the right candidate to do something. And it's also being protective of your time. And I think we need to be more protective of our time and how much time we give others.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much. Can you let our listeners know where they can find you, social media, your podcast, all of that good stuff?
Yes. So I would love to connect with you outside of the show. You can find more information about me at my website. That's CandiceCoppola.com. My podcast is The Power in Purpose, and I'm live every Tuesday, either sharing advice that will help you build a profitable business with purpose or sharing the stories of successful entrepreneurs who are living and doing work on purpose. I'd love for you to come and listen. And I'm on social media. I'm usually on the gram, so you can go check me out there at Candice.Coppola.